about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we got a lot to get to today, but I have to kind of, this teaching point here. In the last few days, my sons and I incurred just so much trauma, sprains, strains, knee dislocations, bruises, leg swelling, foot swelling, toe fracture, aspiration. I think one of us developed aspiration pneumonia, and not on top of that, two of us started to go into hypothermia. Now, we weren't stuck in the wild. We weren't, we went to Disneyland. Most people are able, I still can't breathe. Most people can go to Disneyland without injuring themselves. I'm sorry, but I got to tell you, man, can you enjoy Disneyland? Disneyland is not fun when you're in lines and you're standing out there in the sun and it's hot and the lines are 45 to 90 minutes long. I think the Cars ride was at one point 155 minutes long. And so actually one of my friends, Dr. Michael Sachs, had taught us a way to kind of do it and also, handle the park so that we could, get the maximized experience. And me and my boys have kind of taken that to like an extra level. And unfortunately, we're still recuperating. So basically, if you want to get away from the lines, you try to do early entry or you get there at the gate. Now, the early entry thing I'm starting to really dislike because these hotels, they would give you a magic morning pass to get in an hour early. And an hour early at the park means you could get a couple rides in before all the mass of people come. The problem is the rides you want to do oftentimes are not open. So you end up standing there waiting to get on the Star Wars ride. I don't know if it's called the Star Wars ride. I forget what that's called, but Galaxy's Edge. Or Space Mountain. And the last time we did that, we spent all this money at the Disneyland Hotel only for Space Mountain to be closed and them not letting you on the Galaxy Edge ride. And so we were pretty upset. So anyway, to get at the gate, you can't just get to the gate at 8 a.m. when the park opens because the line is too long by then. So you actually have to get up at about 6 a.m. My son wanted to get up at 5:45 a.m. Right? Mind you, we drove in and we didn't get into town till 1 a.m. to get to the gate. Then when you get to the gate, and they have you at the rope and they say, look, don't run. All the masses are running. And there's people that are going to jump and leap and hurdle over you. So you're running for your life to get to the Galaxy Edge ride. Now, why would you go to the Galaxy Edge ride? Well, with your Lightning Pass, which is your Fast Pass or something you could purchase to be able to cut some of the lines, doesn't include that ride. So everybody ends up wanting to go to this ride. And again, I'm not trying to diss Disneyland, but there's a couple things that I think are pretty scammy. But anyway, and so you're tripping and you're racing. So before you even get on your first ride, you've already dislocated some knees, strained your foot, fallen half a dozen times. I almost fractured my radius. And so you get to the ride. Okay, but then you try to do as much as possible before 11 a.m. By 11 a.m., that's when the lines start to really get crazy. And at that point, now you could really lose out on a good part of your day. So we got a park hopper so we could go back and forth, and the other park opens at 11 a.m. So if the other park, you're able to go at 11 a.m., you're able to then hopefully hit those lines early. Then late night is when things start to quiet down, and thank God the kids are going home. So the kids are going home, and now it's late night. Well, late night, it started to get cold. It was about 59 degrees. It didn't feel cold until we did the Tiana's Bayou experience, which used to be Splash Mountain. Now, Splash Mountain, you get soaked, and somehow they changed the ride where a tsunami of cold water comes into the boat. In fact, because the line was lightening up, we kept going back in line to keep doing the ride. One of the boats looks like it was going to sink because it had at least a foot of water. And I swear that was the boat we were in. We didn't cause it. It's just the water kept coming in. And even if you evade the splash and you're like, whew, I'm good. All of a sudden, a second or two later, all of a sudden, all this water comes in from the side. And then it soaks you. So my underwear was wet, bra, and everything. And so my son was smart. He said, look, let's pack extra socks, extra underwear before we go to the park. The problem is my shoes were soaked. So it made no sense putting on dry socks because my shoes were squashy and drippy. And then having a clean pair of underwear when your clothes are soaked, I couldn't pack a suitcase to go. But the line was shorter. So we did that ride multiple times until I started to shake and go into hypothermia. Plus, we started coughing really badly because with the splash, I think we aspirated it. When you aspirate water, you could risk primary drowning or dry drowning and secondary drowning. Dry drowning is where water gets into your larynx and you start to have a spasm, and you could actually go into laryngospasm and not breathe because water tried to go into the lungs, the pulmonary cavity, and your body tries to prevent that from happening. And unfortunately, when they close up your airways, you could actually asphyxiate because water irritated the windpipe. And then secondary drowning is where where the water gets into the lungs, starts to cause inflammation, and now you fill up with fluid. So I don't know if I have aspiration pneumonia or starting to go into secondary drowning, but I got to tell you, I am so bruised up, sprained, swollen, and I enjoyed myself at Disneyland. But to avoid the lines, you really do some stupid stuff. And in fact, I even told my kids, I'm like, look, when you guys have kids later, for the love of God, don't bring them to Disneyland because there's no way we're gonna be able to do what we need to do to get on the rides if we have to deal with strollers. That's why I never went to Disneyland, because I did it with my kids when they were in a stroller. And I mean, we got maybe 4 rides in the whole day. So I'm like, no. You got to leave the kids at home. Otherwise, you won't enjoy Disneyland. Don't get me started on how much money we spent. Anyway, I'm back. And I need some ibuprofen. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right. We are right back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So the No Kings rallies happened this weekend. I didn't really get to see much of that because we actually, the reason why we went to Disneyland is my son works for the federal government. And because he's furloughed, I thought, well, to keep his mind off the stress of that and, because he's not getting a paycheck, I'm like, well, let's take advantage of the middle of the week day off and try to go to Disneyland when there's fewer lines. So while the shutdown is going into day 20, and I figured there was no end in sight because there was no way the Democrats were going to vote to reopen the government before this massively heavily funded No Kings protest. They had too much money and time put into this protest, and they were advertising that they were protesting the government being shut down, which they caused. It was ridiculous. We figured that this would still continue well into this week. Unfortunately, we are looking at a government shutdown that is now one of the longest full shutdowns in history. There's been, according to Mike Johnson, this is one of the longest. There's been partial shutdowns that were longer, but this is one of the longest full shutdowns going into day 20. If the shutdown reaches 21 days, it will tie the 1995-1996 shutdown during Bill Clinton's presidency as the second longest in U.S. history. The longest shutdown was 35 days. It occurred, according to USA Today, during Trump's presidency, but it was a partial shutdown. So the Senate Democrats do not want to vote for the clean 24-page continuing resolution that they voted on before because they want to start to reverse some of the legislation of the big, beautiful bill that had some changes to Medicaid, Obamacare, Medicaid, such as in order to save money for those individuals who really need Medicaid, those able-bodied, young, strapping men and women with no medical conditions or kids who could actually go to work or go to school or volunteer, that's been added, which is, I think, a very popular piece to that because we want to make sure Medicaid is there for those who need it. But those are some of the things that the Democrats want to reverse. And so they're holding up this vote. Apparently, I think another Senate vote is scheduled for today. Not supposed to happen. Or it is going to happen, but I don't think the shutdown is going to end. I think the Democrats are going to still hold firm. Now, what's kind of shocking with that is many of the layoffs and the government layoffs are affecting a lot of the states that are blue states. And so, on one end, what's nice about being furloughed is you're guaranteed to get your money back because of the laws that have been put in place, especially during the Obamacare era, where you will get your money, you will get all your back pay. And so if you're not paying for gas and you're not paying, for snacks and lunches there, you're actually making money on the deal. The problem is that money doesn't come to you until the shutdown is over. And so now that the next set of paychecks are not, coming with anything and the money is zero, the furloughed workers are going to start getting grumpy because they have rent to pay. Your mortgage and your landlord is not also on lockdown, on shutdown. So there's going to start being some pressure on these senators to hurry the hell up. Now, the onus is on the Democrats because the bill is pretty clean. It's pretty simple. Just continue the funding. They voted on it before. They probably know it by heart by now. It's only 24 pages. So they know all the lines. But what they want is Republicans to turn around and start negotiating on things not in the CR, the big, beautiful bill. And Democrats are trying to hold Republicans, to this because this is where they actually have some power. The other thing, too, is the Democrats are unhappy that they are not in control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, even though the majority is so slim. And so Republicans cannot move forward without, them getting to 60 votes, including Democrats, even though 3 Democrats have voted to help reopen the government. The Democrats are like, all we need to do is stall. If we could stall and halt this government, with its Republican majority for as long as possible to get to the midterms, we can then have more control later. Plus, they could then advertise, look at what happened. Look, it was the longest shutdown in history. And so when I see these politics, I really get frustrated because people are affected by this. And it's really going to take the American people to come out and speak. Now, Americans did come out for this No Kings protest. There were, I believe, 2,700 events. And we're being told that there were they estimated there were nearly 7 million people. Chicago might have had 100,000 attendees. New York, a lot of people went. According to an analysis by Strength in Numbers, they said 5.2 million people might have turned out for the protest. Either way, there was a lot of people. But I'm confused by this whole No Kings sort of campaign, because if Trump was a king, you wouldn't be able to protest, right? If you wouldn't be able to vote. I mean, Trump was not a part of a monarchy and a bloodline that got into, he was voted in, and he was voted in by a majority. So who are they protesting? Are they protesting King Charles? Who's supposed to be the king? And then on top of that, Trump isn't the one that's holding up the shutdown. The Democrats are. So who exactly are they protesting? But it was important for the Democrats to show that they had high numbers. But some state, like there was apparently in California, Illinois, New York had some of the highest. Of course, they have the highest population. We're being told in Nebraska, South Dakota, there were maybe at most 500 people. And so showing that there are people who don't like the president is necessary for the Democrats, but their numbers still pale in comparison to what the country wanted. And what the country wanted is they wanted Trump to come back. They wanted a secure border. They wanted a strong economy. They wanted us to not get screwed by other countries. They wanted the hostages home. They wanted peace in the Middle East. And they wanted a president that other countries respected and not made fun of or had to help redirect and position for a photo op. So they might have gotten a lot of people that, want to call Trump a king, but I don't think, I think the average American was looking at that as, come on, man, let's open up the government. We understand what you guys are doing. You're crying over spilled milk. You're being poor sports. There's another election. There's a midterm election coming up. But let's, get our military and our TSA agents and everybody the funding they need so they can still pay their bills, buy medicines, buy food. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this standoff, because who's going to give in? The Republicans are not going to want to reverse parts of the big, beautiful bill. It passed. It's a done deal. And so the Democrats, technically, if you really look at the odds, are going to have to cave first. Because, and I don't want to use the term cave, they just have to sign the bill. There's sign the CR. It's a CR they approved before. But in terms of wanting extra things done and extra negotiations, that could always be done after the government is reopened. You can very easily submit legislation, but they think that that's not going to pass. They think they could get the Republicans to all of a sudden start reversing big, beautiful bill issues. No, that's why the big, beautiful bill passed already. So I'm very, very frustrated because, people need their paychecks. We need the government to run properly. We got the holidays coming on. And so, and it's funny because the media keeps saying the Republican-controlled Senate is not reopening. And that's why they keep coming out going, look, we've all voted. It's unanimous. We vote. You need the Democrats to do this. We do checks and balances. For the Republicans to say, you know what, we're just going to do majority rules and make this happen. I don't believe they can do that when it comes to the funding. They have to have the filibuster. They have to have the 60 votes. And that's a good thing in America because you want bipartisan agreement on things. And you have at least 3 Democratic senators saying, yeah, we're on board. The problem is the longer this goes, the Democrats that need to stray and vote with their conscience are going to be vilified. But remember, who are you serving? You're not serving yourself. You're not serving the party. You're serving your constituents. If your constituents need to pay their bills, for the love of God, get them their paychecks again and get them back to work. But the plan is to try to slow down the Trump presidency. Trump's not slowing down. He's still working on peace in the Middle East. He's still trying to get the Russia-Ukraine war ended. He's now meeting with the Australian prime minister and president. He's still working. He hasn't taken a day off, and I'm glad he's still working. But the money is going to run out, and they think that the Republicans are going to cave. But it's going to take people reaching out to their senators going, come on, you're not going to get reelected if you continue this BS. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we have been hearing for years that men's sperm count is dropping. In fact, RFK Jr. is trying to address this as he wants to improve our health and make America healthy again. And so when a man's sperm count is dropping, that is a health indicator. Is it an indicator that they have diabetes? Is it an indicator that they have cardiovascular disease? Is it an indicator that they have hormone abnormalities? They have too much obesity? They have a very sedentary lifestyle? Or is it an indicator that we are on our way to human extinction? And I keep talking about how there are so many factors we're doing right now that are starting to make us humans less Darwinian and the survival of the fittest, because we are minimizing our number of children. We are having different attitudes towards family and child raising and having kids. And a lot of our lifestyle choices are not the healthiest. Not to mention, we're just now starting to move ourselves out of a job with AI and automation, where now countries are having to start figuring out about, or they're starting to consider universal income. And I'm worried about this. So people ask, really, are sperm counts really dropping? Well, there was a meta-analysis that was published back in 2017. We actually talked about it on the show, where they found a 52.4% decrease in sperm concentration and a 59, almost 60% decrease in total sperm count in men between 1973 and 2011. So the causes of this could be a variety of things. One, the hormones in our food. The more fat you have, the more estrogen you produce. And estrogen can counteract your testosterone and your sperm production. We also have men taking hormones. We have medical conditions that affect your testosterone that can also increase your body's estrogen. We take medications that can affect our sperm production, our alcohol use, drug use, sitting, laptops. Our testicular health is not something that many people are shall we say, prioritizing. And I'm concerned about that. Now, some people are blaming the LGBTQAI plus community for this. And no. Those individuals, as I said, this is not something that people convert to, or, you are who you are, you know who you are early on. That's why I hate these gay conversion classes and trying to, take a child and make them a girl or make them a boy medically, so they're not, we who we are and this is not something that you can medically change. If you're homosexual, if you're bisexual, if you're asexual, these are things that you can't medically change. And I don't think anybody should even try. Gender dysphoria is very challenging because you don't want to take a child and promise them you're going to make them a boy or girl when their vision of a boy or girl is not going to be what somebody could medically and surgically do. And unfortunately, I'm meeting more and more detransitioners. But those individuals are not why we're having lower sperm counts. I mean, they are looking at individuals as a whole and as a population as a whole. And in fact, in terms of our abilities to stay as a human population and not become extinct, I don't think our sperm count is what's going to make us go extinct. I think it's our choices to have kids, not have kids, to not have a job, to do things that unfortunately affect our health, get, high, overdose on fentanyl. We're just not, we're not training ourselves to be able to be good swimmers, to know how to hunt, to know how to fend for ourselves. A coyote comes into the neighborhood and everybody freaks and runs out. I'm like, you guys can't handle yourself? It's just a coyote. It's, not the biggest deal. There's a rattlesnake, you get away from the snake. Let the snake do their own thing. But there's many individuals who just don't know how to deal with nature. That sadly, that grandma that was walking her dog and a alligator starts to attack her dog. So she tries to fight the alligator. She has no weapon on her, no knife, nothing. And then the alligator kills her. Why aren't we walking around with a knife to protect ourselves? We just are making decisions that, and I get it. You have a lot of mental illness also that plays a role. The role of our public officials in trying to ensure that we aren't hurting ourselves. Their role is to educate the public on something going wrong. Now, we've been telling you for years that sperm count's going down. It's just you don't really hear that from the government. And now you have RFK Jr. saying we got to work on this. So is it our air pollution? Is it our pesticides? Is it the hormones? Is it the junk food, the fake food, the chemicals, the preservatives? We need to figure this out. Is it our cell phones? Is it all the radiation that we're surrounded by? So many of us, when we hear that humans may become extinct, we're like, okay, that's not going to be for millions of years. We're good. I think it's going to accelerate faster than that, especially since you have humans that want this to happen. They want depopulation. And you're seeing more and more of a movement. Now, if somebody wants to euthanize, go ahead. In fact, we're hearing, and we're going to be talking about this, I have a report where more kids are going to be able to utilize that option. And, you have individuals who look at that going, okay, well, then fewer population for us, more earth for us. Okay, I don't want any kid killing themselves. I don't want any kid feeling, and we're not talking about kids with cancer. We're talking about people who may have depression or anxiety and, may think that that's their only way out. When you have groups of individuals that want the population thinned, you have the current population just starting to thin on their own because, having children is too much work. Child birth is painful. I had one female patient who just can't see blood. So she gets very scared and nauseated at the sight of blood. And I'm like, well, what happens when you have your period? She's like, oh, they stopped her period. They made sure she wouldn't have a period, so she never had to see blood. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen when you have kids? Well, then I guess I'm not going to have kids. And I get it. There's some individuals that can't look at blood, but one of the reasons why we women are as strong as we are, and your kid could come into the house all mangled, and we're on top of it. I mean, like my mom would keep her cool, whether it's blood, whether it's broken bone. I mean, because she sees this type of stuff every month. So we're building less of a resistance and less of a resilience. And so, yes, I do think this is going to be a problem. And so to increase your sperm count, well, one, don't have heat on your testicles. Get your laptop off your laptop. Keep your phone out of your pants. Don't wear tight pants. I know a lot of us like our jeans, but looser pants allow the testicles to be away from the heat of the body, and testicles do better in cooler temperatures. That's why the testicles are not up and cremastering all the time to the body. Although when you are stressed or scared, you get that cremaster reflex, or you're cold, where the testicles immediately go up to the body to warm. It's fascinating how your body works to save the testicles. But make sure you protect them, especially in the winter when you go skiing. We had an Olympian who I think frostbit his penis because he was, out in the snow competing, and it was just too cold for his manhood. Eat right. There's a lot of junk food out there, and I know. I was just at Disneyland, and I couldn't wait to have churros and beignets and all that. That it's not nutritionally sound. It's not. Eat nutritious food. Avoid alcohol. Avoid drugs, and get your sperm count checked. Make sure that your sperm health is good. I know we don't do that routinely, but that's not difficult to do. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's October. And every, week or month, we get these campaigns to screen for cancer and to be aware and to do our screenings. And there's so many of them that I'm noticing many people aren't really listening to that anymore. I mean, for me, I love to remind people, check your heart. It's Heart Awareness Month, or it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, or it's Colon Cancer Awareness Month, or it's Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. And it's great because we could talk about it on the show, etc. But I know what people do in real life, and I do it myself. I don't go to the doctor until I have to, and I blow things off. And it's gotten worse since Obamacare because people don't have a regular doctor who's on your case going, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Are you up to date on this? Did you do your mammogram? Did you do your prostate cancer screening? Are you now? I mean, many prostate cancer screenings aren't necessarily covered or recommended by the USPSTF like I used to. I mean, we used to be a lot more aggressive checking you for prostate cancer and other things. And so an old patient of mine who I hadn't seen in over a decade had reached out on Facebook and got some CAT scan results and wanted my advice on it. And it looks like somebody who was pretty healthy 10 years ago, unfortunately, developed a possible mass, which he was told was benign. And now it seems like he has possible spread throughout his body. Now, he first needs to get a, confirmation, a pathology confirmation, so he knows exactly what he's dealing with. I mean, there are other conditions that could cause spots all over the body and growths all over the body and, in the liver and the lungs. But unfortunately, it's cancer until proven otherwise. And whenever I see patients that have that, I start to sound like a broken record, just like you get, during football season, people wearing pink and things. It's okay. Screen for cancer, and it doesn't hit home. It doesn't register. And so I want to maybe say it a little differently. When people ask me, how do you stay alive as long as possible? How do you avoid the big C? And even though the textbook, answer is, well, get yourself screened. There needs to be more practical advice being given. And so everybody knows they need to get screened. But what I also notice people do is they go, well, I'm good. I did my Cologuard. I'm fine. Now, Cologuard, it's a pretty cool, nifty test for some people that can help screen for colon cancer, but it's no colonoscopy. And I notice when people say, I did that, I did my mammogram, I don't have to see a doctor for a year. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I go, but what about skin cancer? What about lung cancer? What about other bowel cancer? What about gynecological cancer? What about prostate cancer? And so it could be very overwhelming. And the one common theme I see in individuals who would come to my office as a new patient or would reach out to me years later, where it seems like they have cancer all over, one common theme is they didn't think anything was wrong until they started feeling tired, started becoming anemic, and then they go to the doctor and they're like, wow, oh boy, looks like I have something wrong. And so one way to prevent cancer or to prevent a poor, I think 1 in 2 of us get some sort of cancer in our lifetime. But to prevent a poor prognosis type cancer is to get the cancer found early. Well, the only way you get the cancer found early is if somebody's watching you and on top of you. Now, the yearly mammograms do help. We rarely see somebody who has a normal mammogram go from 0 to 90 the next year. But if it's been 5 years since your past mammogram, well, now there could be progression in that time. Not all cancers are fast growing. This is why we're very confused about what happened with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, I believe, is now undergoing his radiation therapy and his chemotherapy. And if he was president of the United States, commander-in-chief, with some of the best doctors in the world, supposedly being his medical team, how the hell did anybody miss prostate cancer, let alone by the time it was diagnosed, metastatic, stage 4? For some people, cancer can come quick. Leukemia, some melanomas could be very fast acting, some lung cancers. But if you are regularly seeing a medical provider, if you're getting screens, if you're reminding them of what some of your risk factors are, saying, I just can't be convinced that, I did some smoking in my younger days, or when I did my military tours, can you just check the lungs? I can't emphasize how much proactivity you need to do. So we found breast cancer in one of my family members. And I come from a family who don't believe in doctors. They don't like to go to doctors. I don't know if, that it's just an excuse. I don't believe in doctors, they say, but they just wouldn't go. And so I had to start taking care of this family member financially. And I asked this family member, did you do your mammogram? Oh, I'm never doing that. Mammograms cause cancer. I'm not going. And I said, there is no way in hell I am going to be taking care of you financially while you're letting your health go. You're getting the flipping mammogram. Well, she goes in for the mammogram, and she did have breast cancer. By the time it got staged, thank God, only stage 2. And so this wasn't somebody doing regular screenings, and this was okay, you know what? You need to go and get something looked at. You need to get it done. She had no symptoms at all. Meanwhile, my father, very stubborn. I'm like, I think there's something wrong with your heart. I think you have early colon cancer. It runs in the family. We're not the healthiest of families. We don't have good genes. No, leave me alone, leave me alone. I don't want to go to the doctor. Well, then he died at the young age of 62. So sadly, when people have bad pathology or bad things happen to them, one of the common denominators is, I didn't think anything was wrong. So before something goes wrong, you need to get checked. Now, I know somebody's going, well, Dr. Daliah, wait a second. You can't just screen for every disease. Okay? Insurance won't pay for it. Well, you don't have to do it all at once. But what you need to do is have a checklist of things. And say, look, am I up to date? A year might, now, the older you are, it's like life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the center, the faster it rolls. I cannot believe we're already coming up on the end of October. This year went by so fast. But for cancer or biology or your body, that's plenty of time for it to grow and brew. So my mammogram used to be in October, but after the COVID vaccine booster, I had to put it off for at least a month because I was having side effects and swelling and all sorts of other things. That's just me. For some of you, the booster may do great, but for me, my mammogram got pushed to November. So now my yearly mammogram is in November. And so that's why you don't see my mammogram pictures this month, because it had to be put off. And so I go in November. But I'm even telling myself, I go, gosh, I still feel sore from the last mammogram. Really? I'm already due for another one? But it does take work. For those of us that love our cars, our cars take a lot of work and maintenance. So do our bodies. And if you don't want the one day being told, wow, you have stage 4 cancer or you have debilitating heart disease, make sure you have your doctor on top of it checking. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.